Hey, welcome my friends to the Black Diamond Call for Monday, February 6, 2017. This is John Lavinia, your weekly host here on the Black Diamond Call. You know, this call in various forms, this broadcast, this podcast, this radio show, this whatever format you're listening to this on, has been going in various forms for about 15 years. That's right. You're part of a tradition here. This is something I started. It used to be a team call back when I was working with a company some years ago, and a lot of people wanted to listen in on the things that happen in my brain, which are sometimes very interesting to listen to. And and this call started, and it's been going for a long, long time. And now here it is as the Black Diamond here inside our Digital Altitude community. So I want to welcome everybody to this call. It's always fun each week. Before we get into it, I want to first give you a reminder, an announcement, and especially for our brand new people who have never been face-to-face with Michael Forrest, the other top leaders here, myself, and all the people who are getting together live at the Marketing Mastery event, April 2017. That's going to be over at the Disney Resort. I think the name of the venue is the Concord. You can get all the details at digitalaltitude.co/MME, as in Marketing Mastery Event. That's what MME stands for. Marketing Mastery Event. digitalaltitude.co/Marketing Mastery Event. I'm sorry, /MME. And you can get all the details on the event that's coming up this April. We expect everybody to be there. Everybody. And tickets are almost free. This is not a product. This is not an Ascend. This is not a Peak. This is not an Apex. This is a chance for us to all get together, and it's I think maybe $100 and something, and there's VIP tickets as well, which always sell out first. So if you're a VIP, you can even get a discount if you're getting two of them, like for you and your spouse. I would say definitely do that. Get two, bring your spouse or your business partner or whomever. But be there. You know, as much as we accomplish here on the internet, and as much as we accomplish here on these live conference calls and the webinars that we do each week, there's no replacement for the actual participation at a real live event, and that is happening. So make that happen in your life. What else? What else can I tell you? That should do it for now. I think let's just roll. Let's roll with the Black Diamond Call. We've got a lot of great content that we're about to get from one of our favorite ladies here inside the Digital Altitude community, who's never hosted the Black Diamond Call before. Before I bring her out, I will warn you. This call tends to be raw. This call, we don't pre-plan or pre-script, or nobody's going to be reciting poetry on this call. I designed this call to be no holds barred, tell it like it is. We're here to help you get results, and we're not here to help everybody, be comfortable and all that. So sometimes you'll hear me get a little rambunctious. That's fine. Take what you like and leave the rest. Consider it a buffet. Most importantly, see how these ideas apply into your life and your business. Okay, we're not here to entertain you as much as I like to think I'm entertaining. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and assist. So see how this stuff is actually usable to you, these ideas that you're about to get on this call. I know I've used them to great profit. Okay, so, and my usual disclaimer, if I say anything that offends you, you'll get over it. That's just how we roll. So tonight, we're talking about a way to accelerate, to really take a fast route. I mean, do you guys like to go fast? You can go ahead and type in the chat roll if you like to go fast. Anybody ever seen that movie, Talladega Nights, with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly? It's just a funny movie. He was about a race car driver. And he always wanted to go fast as a kid. And then one day he got his chance, and he became a race car driver. It was kind of fun. So who wants to go fast? I can tell you I do. And it's a lot more fun to make money fast than it is to make it slow. So we're talking about hitting the accelerator pedal here, metaphorically. And in our business, what that means is that we start to get into the flow. We start to, and it all starts, of course, with seeing ourselves in the flow, right? And then we start to see the outward examples and evidences of what we've been mentally preparing for. This is a big game. This business, this whole opportunity, this top-tier direct sales, online marketing, entrepreneurship itself is a big game, and the majority of it happens between your ears. Yes, the majority of it. I know people spend a lot of time on the how-to and clicking the thing and the the email sequences and, oh my goodness, all this stuff, how-to stuff. And we cover that on Wednesday nights. That's wonderful. We do how-to training on the rise every Wednesday night. But here on Monday nights, we talk about the who, which I would argue is vastly more important, because lots of people can click the button, lots of people can send the email. Who's doing it? That's the bigger question. That's the bigger question. Hopefully, a powerful person, a powerful entrepreneur at the helm of your business. And that's what we're here talking about tonight. And to help us with that is someone you've heard from on our morning calls, on our wake-up calls, and on our Inside Digital Altitude calls. She has served this community for months alongside myself and the other call hosts here. And that is, of course, our Russian lady friend, Tatyana Moshchenkov. Tatyana, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. I feel like I should at least clap myself in the call.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
this is your first time on the Black Diamond. Yeah, this is great.
It sure is. It sure is. And I was actually kind of disappointed because you said we couldn't do poems, and I had all this. I'm just kidding.
Well, right.
I was gonna say I was gonna read a poem, and you just told me I couldn't. So what am I gonna do now?
Yeah, this call is not so much about aesthetics. It's about results, you know. So and we will have a Q&A session at the end. So if anybody's ever been wanting to ask Tatyana a question, we're going to open up the lines here once she's done with her poetry. So Tatyana, yeah, the floor is yours. Have some poetry.
All right. Awesome, awesome. Thank you, John. Thank you. And hi, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. This is Monday night. It is kind of weird for me because I'm usually up early in the mornings on the calls. And, tonight I have my kids with me, and it's just kind of weird, but it's fun. One disclaimer I will give you is that I am getting over a cold. So if you hear me sipping on my tea, that's just me trying to kind of keep my throat clear so I don't cough into the phone for you. But I got some exciting stuff to share with you guys, and I want to open it up with kind of like a question. You know how John just said that everybody worries about the how, like, oh, how do I write emails? How do I do this? How do I do that? If you take all the how-tos that you really need to know, right? I mean, truly, and if you just kind of line them up, like, you know how when you clean your computer space and you take all the empty spots and you just condense everything, I bet you that you could learn all the how-tos in like 3 to 6 months, top, right? Like if you take and you started really diving into email marketing, or if you really started diving into like Facebook advertising or Bing or Yahoo, whatever how-to that you choose to master, if you can do that, it doesn't take as much time as you think it will. And a lot of times people think that the how-to is more scarier, like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to do this. But everything can be learned, right? Now, this brings up my question that I want to open it up with. So if you master the how-to, right, and you have, say, 5, 10 people that have mastered their how-tos, and they each run their business, but they're each getting different results, and they do the same thing. Like, say it's email marketing, and they each do it the same. What makes them different? We always talk about that there's another side to the whole business building, to the whole life, pretty much, that does much more than the how-tos. You know, if you don't know how to ride a bike, you can learn to ride a bike. But it all starts with something else. We talk about mindset. Like, it all starts with the mindset, right? That 90% is the mindset. But why is it the mindset? And what is it, like, what is that something in mindset that can really help you move your business forward? And so today's call, I named it The Fastest Way to Success. And, you know, what is the one thing that you can do that you are actually in control of and that you have the power to do that will move your business the fastest, you know, and you'll be on your fastest way to success. So today I want to talk about something that's called, which you guys have heard about it, it's called the visualization, right? The power of visualization. And Bob Proctor and Cindy Gallagher call it visioneering. Okay, you know, it's like engineering, but this is visioneering, kind of a cool word. I like that word. So what I'm going to share with you today is probably not something that you have heard before, so make sure and listen up. And if you guys need to, listen to the call again, and just so you really grasp what, you know, the information that I'm going to share, right? So what is visualization? What is visioneering? And why is it such a huge part of the mindset, or, you know, huge part of success? And why is it going to accelerate success? Before you do anything in your, well, let's go back to kind of your childhood, right? So as a child grows, you know, they're in certain circumstances, they learn certain habits and skills, and then comes a point where they start forming that image of who they think they are. You know, this is probably why the teenagers are so difficult, right? Is because they go through this and they're trying to almost like accelerate and belong and get their identity and really figure out who they are. And based on what they start seeing in themselves, if you watch people, you know, if you watch and study kids and children and teenagers and then young adults and then entering into adulthood, you're going to notice that as they see themselves, that's how their life starts kind of unveiling, right? You know, they're going to start taking certain opportunities or paths or follow a certain direction based on how they see themselves, right? So take someone, you know, say you or whoever, and you're going from maybe being completely broke. Maybe you're going from, you know, you're middle class. Maybe you had a job, or you have a job, and all of a sudden you decide to do this online thing. That sounds really cool. You see other people doing really good in it, right? And right at that moment, you know, that you make a decision, where and how do you see yourself? Because that right there will be a very determining factor in how your path goes forward and in how much success that you're going to achieve, right? So let's talk about this kind of in a more detail, right? Visioneering and, you know, being able to visualize any time that you have done anything in your life, whether you knew it or not, you saw it in your mind first. You created some sort of an image of it first, and then did it. And with how you're used to living, it probably just happens on autopilot that you just don't even know it. Like, you know, you washed the dishes, you went and did something, you went grocery shopping, and you do everything that you know to do. You don't even realize that you first create an image in your mind before you even start doing it. Think about it. Like, think about, you know, the last time that you did something around your house. I bet you thought about it first, had an image, kind of, even it could be a flashback or like a flashback image, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, because that flash image all of a sudden triggered the action for you to go in and actually do that. Okay? Now, this applies, you know, this whole power of visualization and power of visioneering, it applies to absolutely every single area of people's lives. Watch people, like, think of your closest friends. Think of, like, maybe your relatives or whoever surrounds you, whoever you allow, actually, you know, to surround you, right? Think of them, and then think about the couple areas of their life. Like, think about, you know, how would you rate them on, like, the health scale? Do you think that they're pretty healthy? How about their relationships? Like, do you feel that they're pretty successful in their relationships? You know, how about finances? Where do you see them? Like, are they well off, you know, with money? Are they good with managing money? Like, where do you see those people? And then put yourself, like, where do you see yourself? Like, give yourself even some sort of a score. Like, okay, maybe give yourself like a 1 or a 0. Like, I'm good with finances, or I'm not good with finances, right? Like, I feel I'm successful or I'm not successful. my relationship is good or it's not, right? Or my health is good or it's not. Just kind of give it a minute and just think. This gives you that chance to really analyze. And, you know, for those of you guys who are listening to this call as a replay, you can just pause and then just spend a couple times really thinking. Like, you know, picture or think of your Bob next door, your neighbor maybe, or your relative, you know, John, James, whoever you have close by, and just look at them and then start putting the connection between what they say about themselves versus their circumstances, kind of, you know, the reality that they created. And you're going to see kind of where the thought process fits in, and you're going to see that, this is how they view themselves. Because all it is that power that you have, you know, the visualization, the visioneering, that self-image, how you see yourself, is truly the root of what is on the outside. People see your circumstances, but those are only, you know, they say every disease has signs and symptoms, right, and results. And that is true, because it all starts on the inside. And then whatever comes to the outside is actually the result of what was going on the inside for like the longest time. It could be years. And this is exactly why so many people, like probably I want to say like 93 to 97%, this is like giving that, you know, shot in the dark, of people are not having success in the online space or in any business because they realize that work that they think they have, they don't know how to do this. They don't think they have money. They don't think they have time. No, that's not the problem. That's not the problem. Problem, just like John said, is right there between the two ears. Okay? Now, let's talk about the power and why, you know, I'm so not just enthusiastic about this, because I think it's fascinating about, you know, the power of our mind and the power of visualization and the visioneering that we have, right? But let's talk about why it's important. I want to actually share with you guys, you know, something from my personal life. Like, I'll give a couple examples and it will make sense. But the reason why it's so powerful is if you can visualize something, right? If you can really just kind of close your eyes and see it, and there's one more component to it that I'll go away in just a second, then it's only a matter of time before it becomes reality. Because what you're going to do is, if you can see it, you're going to start saying, how can I achieve it? And remember, every time that you ask your subconscious mind that how to, like how can I do this or that, how can I afford, how can I make this happen, the magic starts happening. And I'm telling you guys, it's not some like voodoo meditation. Yeah, there's people that do that. But this is like real stuff. And let me give you literally a personal example. And every time I think about these examples, I get chills because of the power that our mind has, okay? So a couple of years back, this was actually more than a couple, probably like 10 years ago, I had this one car that I really wanted, okay? And it was just something like, it was in the back of my mind. I'm like, man, it would be so nice if I had that car. Like, it was just a dream, and it wasn't anything super fancy. It was just a car that I really liked and I really wanted, okay? And it was like every time I think about this car, I get this like really warm, just such a nice feeling and emotion. I'd be like, oh, it would be so nice to drive it. And then I would just go on with my daily routine and just not even, you know, pay attention to, you know, my imagination, right? Because at that time, I didn't know about all this power that we have. So, you know, I was thinking, I was like, oh, it'd be so nice. And then, of course, like, I'd be working and doing my stuff. And then a couple of years later, I'm not kidding you guys. I am not kidding you. We were driving by, and we were not even like, okay, let's if I'm being honest, I'm going to be really honest, right? We were not at the point of buying a car. We were not prepared to put the money down, or, I don't know that we were even looking for a car, but we were driving by one of the dealerships, and there it was. There it was. There it was. It was standing nice and shiny. It was like that cream white color. And, of course, we went in to check, and we're like, oh, how nice would it be for that car? And I sat inside, and I started remembering, the images that I had. I'm like, man, this is like totally like the color, everything that I wanted, like this car has. And so my husband and I talked, and we're like, man, we probably won't even get approved because our credit wasn't the best at that time. And you know what? We were approved. That car was in our driveway within a matter of like 2 or 3 days. And it's so funny because even when we had the car, I still didn't think about, like, oh, it's important to visualize all that, right? So, fast forward a couple years, I became a network marketer, right? I became an online marketer, an internet marketer, an entrepreneur pretty much, right? And I started learning about all this, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was totally it. That was me holding that image. I mean, I didn't do it like every single day because I had, daily stuff that I had to do, but it was totally me practicing that visualization. Like I had the image of what I wanted. I was really clear on it, and it happened. It was like somebody hit me with a ton of bricks. I'm not kidding you guys, right? So then as I started learning all this, I was like, I told myself, I was like, I'm going to test it out, because this is like really weird, okay? So what happened is, my first, I believe it was like first year and a half or so online, as I was learning and I was going through a lot of like, maybe falling on my face, a lot of learning, a lot of challenges, a lot of brick walls, a lot of stepping stones, which I'm grateful for. I would not trade that for anything at this point because it made me who I am. It gave me the knowledge. It gave me the skills, right? And it gave me all those how-tos that you guys or a lot of people are worried about, right? So fast forward a couple of years into me being online, I was like, I'm going to test this out, this whole visualization, because I started practicing it more, but it was kind of, I didn't do it on a regular basis, okay? So I found this old check. Actually, it wasn't even an old check. It was like my brother's check that, he was writing out to someone. So I took a picture of the corner of the check where it had just the amount, okay? And I took a picture of that check, okay? It was like good, 5 digits. But I just want to share this with you guys so you believe it and so you start practicing for yourself, okay? So I took a picture with my phone, and what I did, this is what you guys can do too, is I created this little collage of like a couple things that I wanted, and one of the images was that check there, like that corner of the check, okay? Fast forward, not even 3 or 4 months, I was still working as a nurse. I worked for 12 years as a nurse. Many of you guys know my story, right? So this was when I was still working and doing my online thing full time, right? So not even 3 or 4 months by, I get an email, or not an email, it was a letter in the mail that came, and it said something about that, we're recalculating people's, over the years that they have worked with the facility that I was working at, and we have found that there were some errors in overtime calculations, right? And we're going to reimburse you, and here's your amount. Okay, the amount was maybe a couple pennies, maybe a couple dollars difference in that corner of the check that I took a picture of. I'm telling you this right now, and I have goosebumps because of how powerful it was. And there, I was like, I cannot believe this. But then I was like, well, I believe this, but I feel like I cannot believe this. Like, this was really cool. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to start thinking about. Okay, what happens when you start holding the image? Well, let's talk about the process that takes place. The first thing is having the goal. Okay, so create your goal. Okay, when you create your goal, and when you start creating that image of, in your mind of what your goal is, what you need to start thinking is of where or how does it feel like if you already achieved that goal. And this is where that visualization starts, is you start seeing yourself as already you have achieved what it is that you're wanting to achieve. Okay? And so the big component, let me take a sip of tea. Sorry. So the other big component, second big component to visualization process to visioneering is attaching emotion to your goal. Remember how I shared when I was picturing the car? I had it so vividly clear, I could see myself, touching the car, smelling the leather, sitting in it. I could see myself driving the car, and it became reality. Okay? So having that strong emotional connection, it makes it very, very powerful. What a lot of people will do is, they'll create affirmations, for example, right? Because affirmations is one of the ways that you can start kind of putting a certain image of what you want into your mind. And they will just repeat them, without having any emotional attachment, to the affirmation. So they're going to say, I am healthy, I'm vibrant, I am rich in potential, I'm wealthy. And it makes a huge difference if you really take a second and you really think about it like, I am wealthy, I am rich, I am blessed, right? All these, you attach emotion, you attach enthusiasm. So you attach all that into that one goal that you have, right? When you first start doing this, it's going to be hard. I'll tell you from personal experience, like when you actually start practicing visualizing the right things that you want. So in my case, going back those years back, right, I had certain things I could visualize, but then like other things I couldn't visualize. Like I couldn't see myself being where I'm at now, or I couldn't see myself being anywhere. It's like it happens with a lot of people, and this is why most people in the world, not just in the online business world, right? But if you just look at our population, our generation, if you look at, the world, people will talk about current circumstances. They'll visualize kind of like, oh my goodness, I got this in the mail, another bill, or I got this, or I just this coffee, oh my laptop just broke, my car just broke, oh my kids are not listening to me. And they'll keep saying these things. They'll keep seeing themselves in circumstances, and then it feels like it grows on them. And the truth is it does. It does, because that's what they keep visualizing, so they keep attracting more and more and more and more of that. It's that ball effect. It's so powerful. But the key is, if you are going through hard circumstances, if you're going through hardships, if you're having difficulties in finances, in relationships, in health, in whatever it is, don't talk about it, okay? And even in your mind, you might want to say, oh my goodness, I have this headache and it hurts so much right now, and it just hurts, and it hurts, and you keep focusing, and it hurts, and this headache is getting worse. But then try to, or put your utmost effort to start creating a little different image in your mind. Like, okay, I know my circumstances are really hard, but where can I go with my circumstances? What can I do to fix them? This is kind of introducing, being solution-oriented versus problem-oriented. I want you guys to really embed on your mind that, okay, when you start focusing on kind of like, okay, my circumstances are hard. What can I do about my circumstance? You're going to start seeing how you can start changing things. And like, okay, you might have a headache right that moment, but just close your eyes and imagine yourself like, okay, my head is nice and clear. I can think clearly. I can focus. My body is pain-free. And what you'll notice is if you put enough will, enough power into that moment, that your headache will eventually go away. Sometimes we need Tylenol or like ibuprofen, right? But the power of your mind is crazy. And I want to read a quote from one of the very powerful books. You guys write this down. It's called Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Moran. Some of you may have heard me either read this quote or I know I posted it on my Facebook just because it's so powerful. So it goes like this. It's not a poem, John, I promise. When your understanding grasps the power, visualize your heart's desire, and hold it with your will, it attracts to you all the things requisite to the fulfillment of that picture by the harmonious vibrations of the law of attraction. I'm pausing on purpose. I'm going to read it again. When your understanding grasps the power to visualize heart's desire and hold it your will, it attracts to you all things requisite to the fulfillment of that picture by the harmonious vibrations of the law of attraction. If you break this statement down, it has three components. The first one is your heart desire, okay? The second is the power to visualize it and hold it at your will. So hold it with your will. And then, of course, it attracts, the third component is it fulfills that desire, because when you hold it in the power of your mind, then you're not only going to be thinking about it, you're going to be starting to, take action. So what I want you guys to do today is start practicing. And here's the thing. One of the components, I don't want to use that word because I've already used it, right? I want to use something different. So what happens when you start visualizing is that your mind will become more clear on what you want, but you're also going to create order in your mind, and you're going to really identify, like, okay, what do I want my life to be? What do I want my finances to be? What do I want my relationship to be like? What do I want myself to be like? What do I want my health to be like? Okay? And so your mind is going to become clear and clear on, of what you want, and that picture will become more clear. And let me tell you this. Maybe the first time that you start doing this and you close your eyes and you're going to see just a black screen, right? That happened to me, right? You close your eyes again and all you're realizing, man, this is not working, because now my thoughts are like loud and screaming at me, right? And then you close your eyes again and it's like, oh, my current circumstances are just taking over, like, oh my goodness, how do I get out of this? But remember what Genevieve said, is that you have your heart's desire. And you start there, and you close your eyes, you start thinking like, oh my goodness, like, I really want this. Okay? And then from there, you start putting that will. You have a strong will, and until you test how strong it is, you probably don't even know how strong your will is. So you become aware of what your heart's desire is. And then you take and you use your will to hold it in your mind. Okay, as that image gets clear. And I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to share how you can make it very, very clear, some of the questions that you can ask yourself. And then when you hold it at will in your mind, it becomes that deliberate training, right? Like you train your mind to deliberately think forward instead of just focusing on how bad the situation might be or the circumstances, right? So that deliberate training. And here's how you can create a very, very clear image. Okay, you might have, like, let's give an example. For example, or let's give an example. You have a goal to set, $5,000 a month this month, or maybe 10,000 by next month, or maybe you have a goal like setting $100,000, in the next 6 months or a year, right? So ask yourself these two questions. Actually 3 questions. What would be like if, and then you put your goal, if I made $5,000 a month, this month? What would it feel like? So first you're doing, what would it be like, right? Then you can say, what would it feel like? How would you feel if you achieved that goal, right? And then question number 3 is, how would my life look if I achieved that goal, whatever goal you set? If I made $5,000 a month, if I made $10,000 a month, if I made $100,000 a month. And you're going to start answering these questions, and your mind is going to start creating an image. It's going to start creating a picture. So this is where that visualization engineering comes handy and into place. And as you are creating that image, give it time and really feel it. Like when you're asking yourself, like, what would it feel like? Well, what would your lifestyle be like? What would it feel like to be immersed in that lifestyle that you're truly wanting? And this is where and why we talk about creating dream boards. This is why we talk about creating some sort of a visual, like external visual, that you can look at and that you can take that image and implant it on your internal visual faculties, as as we call it, right? So you take it and you look at it externally. You create that dream board, vision board. And as you look at that, you create and you get clear. And then, of course, as you get more and more clear, then you can adjust it. You can take things off of the board, put new things on, and as you achieve things, you can take them off and pin new things. So the practical things, what I want you guys to do is, number 1 is start, create a goal, of course, right? And number 2 is really think about what your heart's desire is, and then you create an image around that. If it's health, if it's finances, if it's relationships, create an image of like, okay, your relationship might suck right now. Well, what would you want it to look like? What would an ideal relationship look like to you? And create that image. And what happens is that when you consider that, when you hold it still, that it will attract to you all the things requisite to the fulfillment of that picture by the harmonious vibrations of the law of attraction. Again, this is not some voodoo or anything. It's just your thoughts, like this was scientifically measured, is whatever image that you're holding in your mind, it just lets out a certain vibration. And the more emotion, remember I talked about the emotion that is attached to that image, the stronger those vibrations are. And as you put them out, it's like it just rains and floods on you. Like it could be a good way or a bad way, depending on what you're putting out. Okay? So it's kind of like a domino effect if you think about it in the physical world. What I want you guys to do is be aware, use that will that you have. Find something, like if you're having a bad day, right, a hormonal day, a crappy day, something is just not going right. No, it doesn't mean, when you create an image, it doesn't mean that you're denying your current circumstances. You're not, because they're there, right? But what you're doing is you're creating what you want. Like you're creating, okay, I know my circumstances are this, but this is what an ideal relationship would be like. This is what an ideal world or my life would be like. And as you create that, for one, you're going to start feeling better, because then you're going to start focusing like, okay, well, how can I get there now? Because that definitely looks better and feels better than, my current life is, right? And you're going to start aiming to that. And then what you're going to notice by some magic or luck, like people call it, is all of a sudden you get a phone call from someone and be like, hey, I was looking at what you're doing and I want to join you in your business. Or, someone owes you money and it's been a while, and all of a sudden they call you and they're like, hey, I want to pay you your money back. That's because you got the image right. And the way you know that you got it right is it matches with your emotion. Like if you feel good thinking about it, that's the harmony. And that's that harmonious, the harmonious vibration of the law of attraction. That's that harmony that when you move forward and you have that, you create that in your mind, that things are going to start happening to you. So, John, wherever you are, this was kind of a mouthful because, like I said, I've taken some sips and the whole thing with the coughing. I feel pretty good. I'm actually amazed. But I am open for you guys to ask me questions and, let's have some sort of an interaction. But I want to hear your feedback. If you guys have examples of how visualization has worked in your life and how it really made a difference, share it so others get inspired, because I know that we can tell you all the facts and all the science, right? But it doesn't sell and it doesn't inspire people as much as personal stories, to where, like, I talk about my story and I get goosebumps, right? And I'm sure you guys have found something useful for yourself. So let's talk about this. Wherever John is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here, Tatyana. That was great. And you know what? You're talking about inspiring stuff, and your body is demonstrating inspiration, right? I mean, you're feeling good. There you go. I know you started the call with a little bit of a sniffle or whatever, but I didn't hear you take a sip of tea even once. Wow. I guess this stuff works. So let's do this, guys. We're going to go ahead and open it up for Q&A, so stand by for that. All right, so it is time for live interaction with Tatyana. So if you want to come on out here and comment or give some ideas and or questions, of course, please let's keep it on topic. We don't do like tech support on this call. I can't solve those problems for you, but our help desk can. But if you'd like to speak with Tatyana in person, now is the time to hit *6 or to click the mute button on your app. And our first caller is my buddy Clinton. Clinton, you're live on the air. How are you, sir? Clinton,
I think he looks like he might be muted.
Yeah, check your technology there, Clinton. Make sure you're not double muted. Should be unmuted. Clinton, come on, Clinton.
Can you hear me?
Hey, there he is. How you doing, bud?
Hey, thank you very much. I was wondering, do you have like a list or some books, good books, that you could reference?
All right, absolutely. So one of the books that I mentioned is Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Brand. And let me spell her name just because it's not like difficult. G-E-N-E-V-I-E-V-E, so the Genevieve, and then her last name is Brand, B-E-H-R-E-N-D, Your Invisible Power. That's one of the books where she talks about the power of, visualizing and the whole visioneering. And then the other great book is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. That's also a very powerful book. And like I said, there are people that go into, and do meditation, and that's all great. But there's a lot of people that don't believe in that. And this is completely neutral. It just talks about the power of our subconscious mind. It's like we have the ability to learn to drive. We're not paying attention to how we even, put our seatbelt on, because it's also automatic. That's how our lives are. The things that we create become automatic. They just become part of you. And so in order for us to create something different, this is where we create a new image, new visualization process, and we move forward. So those two books are my big ones. And then, of course, the Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which everyone knows, that timeless classic, is really, really good. So start there, and I think you're going to get a lot of value.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff.
You're welcome.
Great. I've read all three of those books, so I'll co-sign that. That is great, great suggestions. Thank you, Tatyana, and thank you, Clinton. And if anybody else wants to jump on here live with Tatyana, this is your big opportunity to do so. I'm not seeing anybody else in queue right now, but I do see a couple of people here in the chat that we have. And let's see here. Karen is saying, I did a vision board and just allowed myself to imagine life if I had no financial constraints. What would life look like? And I wrote that down. Well, her sentence kind of gets cut off there. Shamika, I just want to say I think of both of you are great mentors. And thank you, Shamika. And I'm glad to get to hear you guys and your lessons. Thank you, John and Tatyana, for all you do. You're quite welcome. Thank you. And then Marquis Taylor, you beat me to it, Shamika. So thank you for the acknowledgement, you guys. Last call, if anybody else wants to come out here and engage with Tatyana and myself live on the Black Diamond call. This is your big shot. *6 will unmute your line, or of course you can click the mute and unmute button on your app. And we do have our next caller in queue, which is Tamara. Tamara, you are live on the air.
And while, John, while we're waiting for the next person, I just want to mention something to Karen, who did the vision board. Karen, pay attention to how you felt when you imagine that, and take that feeling and almost like bottle it, like put it like a genie in the bottle. And when you do that, like every time you imagine, think back to that feeling that you had, that emotion when you were visualizing what it was like to be completely financially independent. All right. Tamara or Tamara, come on out and let's see you.
That was very inspiring because I am a single mom of twin boys, and I really like to have finance trouble and raise my boys the best way I possibly can. And you gave me so much, and I want to thank you.
You are most welcome. And you know, the one thing I want to tell you is that we always think, you know, it's just the nature of our mind is we'll start thinking, oh my goodness, you know, there's so much of this going on in the world. I don't want my kids to do that or this or that. When we say those things, we actually focus and visualizing the bad that you want them to do or to be. This is you just shift and start thinking and visualizing the good you want them to do, right? So instead of like a good example, and this is like very simple, is for someone to like, oh, I don't want my child to, you know, smoke or whatever. Just think of like, I want my kids to be healthy. I want my kids to be vibrant. I want my kids to have like really good habits. And so this is where that shift of focus comes and the visualization power is that anything that you think that you don't want your kids to be or yourself to be, just switch it to what you want them to be and what you want yourself to be.
Yeah, I completely understand. I mean, I'm struggling so hard right now raising my twin boys because I went through a family crisis and they love.
Absolutely. I just give you, like, seriously, a huge applause for having the twin boys. Kids are hard, you know, as is, right? Having one baby is hard, but to have two, and especially that first year is like a year of survival. So you're getting a bow from me.
Thank you. But they're a handful, but I actually have 4 kids. So,
and you got it. You got it.
So I just want to thank you for giving me the inspiration to be the woman that I know that I can be.
You're most welcome.
All right. Thank you, Tamara. And anybody else, last call for any live interactions here on the Black Diamond for Monday, February 6th. Last call. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up Q. And Tatyana, I want to thank you for coming on out here. Everybody enjoys hearing your voice. Of course, you're going to be, I'm sure we're going to hear from you again on the conference series. You're going to be retiring from your morning duties. We're going to be making some more talent shifts on our regular schedule. But as always, Tatyana, thank you for bringing the message of success here to the Digital Aptitude community. Any closing comments from you tonight?
Thank you, John. It's truly an honor, and I might sneak in on Tuesdays, right, here and there. So I appreciate every single one of you guys for committing and for dedicating your time. Go back, listen to the calls. The more you immerse yourself, repetition is mother of learning. I always say that. The more you immerse yourself, the faster that you're gonna, jumpstart your success. And as I named my call, today, is your fastest way to success is start visualizing. It might be hard at first, but you have that strong will. Start doing it, start taking action. And this is that massive action. This is the hard work that you will ever have to do on your mindset. And you do it, and years down the road, you're going to really thank yourself.
Awesome stuff. Very good, everybody. We'll see everybody in the morning for the wake-up call. Until then, make it a great night. You absolutely deserve it, and bye for now.
Bye, everyone.